Hey guys, I'm back here with my friend Bob at Movie Machines, and we finally got Bob to bring out the Fast and Furious Charger to shoot.
It's probably the most unique of all the Chargers, not only just because I'm going to say that because it's mine, but because of its actual history.
Yeah.
We're in the 9th movie now. They're probably going to do 10. They've used almost 50 Chargers throughout the scope of all the movies. Yeah, it's a lot of metal. And one of the other things that's very special about this car, which makes it unique, is it's the only surviving Charger from the series that's still all Dodge. From Fast and Furious 4 and on, they put Chevy in everything.
Yep.
Well, this was bought late in 4, so they didn't have time to put an LS or a small block Chevy 350 in it or anything.
Yeah.
They just kept it Dodge, which I think is kind of special too, because it's a Charger.
By the way, you guys, picture cars, for any of you that don't understand the world of picture cars, rarely are they what they appear to be on screen. You know, they appear to look really beautiful, and a lot of times they're not very at all. They're 20 footers.
Well, you have a certain amount of time, you have a certain amount of money.
Yep.
And you have a vision that changes. And so the cars that you see on screen are kind of a compromise of all of that.
Yep.
If it gets the job done, then it's good enough. You don't have to make a beauty car. And what's so great and unique about this Charger, not only is it an original 1970, it's the only one that's been used in 4 of the movies. So this car originally came from 4,
right?
And it was satin black, and one of the stunt guys had slid it into a wall and did damage on the passenger front. So I bought the car from Universal along with 28 other vehicles when they were just getting rid of stuff because they didn't care.
Right.
And 5 comes out, and they're doing some additional photography, and they need one of the Chargers to do a scene where they flip the bus and break out Vin Diesel.
At the very beginning of the movie. Yeah.
Which is always funny when you watch that movie, because as great as the series is, 5 is when it started to get a little bit outlandish. Because you watch that first scene and you see the bus flip and you go, okay, everybody's dead.
Movie's over, 30 seconds in.
Yeah, it's a very short film. So they needed the car, but now they wanted to change the look slightly. So they painted it black, gloss. We sent them out to the desert area in California, over the Grapevine they call it. And they were going to shoot that scene. Well, I didn't know at the time, and of course it didn't mean as much then as it does now, but Paul Walker was going to drive that car that day.
Yep.
So then I had it at car shows and stuff afterwards, and
right.
you know, the normal stuff as a collector, you keep it in your showroom, and 7 comes along. So in Fast 7, they have a scene where Vin does a wheelie in the car, and Jason Statham uses his Aston Martin, and they ram each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a big standoff.
Yeah,
Instead of
totally.
a duel with guns, they're going to duel with cars.
Bam.
Right?
Yeah.
So Universal calls, and Dennis McCarthy calls, and Dennis, who's built, you know, all these cars from 3
on, right?
He says, hey, we need another Charger and we don't have any time, but we want to wreck it. And I'm like, whoa. We had rebuilt this, and I go, all right, well, I'll do it, but you know, it's got to be really worth it. And they go, we don't have any time, what do you want? And I go, well, you have a Fast 6 Charger still left, which was the Daytona look, the 69 Daytona.
Yes.
I go, tell you what, I want this back no matter what you do to it, and I'll trade you for doing that. I still get it back, but I want the Daytona Charger back. And they go, okay. And I'm like, sweet. So this was on a Friday, and of course over the weekend they couldn't make it happen because the Fast 6 was owned by Archives that keeps all this stuff for Universal.
Yeah.
So they weren't able to make it happen, and they did it with another car. But they still needed this for Now Hero shots because now they wrecked the car that hit Jason Statham's.
Right.
So this went back for 7. Went to Atlanta and did some shooting there, and also did some shooting here in LA. So now what even makes it even crazier is now Fast 9 is being shot. Fast 9 is, I guess, a retro look,
right,
going back. But the collectability comes then out of the fact that everybody loves it. They love the character. They love Fast and Furious. It's the greatest car franchise ever.
Of course.
You know, 9 movies.
All right, so what's the motor you said in this?
As I stated, this was brought in at the end. So somebody had put a 360 in it. Now 360, you know, Mopar Dodge motor.
Not correct for
not
70
correct for
Charger.
70. They didn't have them yet in that. But, you know, it's still Dodge.
Yeah.
So when the movie was over, the motor was in sad shape. Again, they just used it for whatever and slid it into that wall. So when we were fixing it, we had it rebuilt. And it dynoed out at about 400 horse with 440 pounds of torque.
Right.
We put electric cutouts in it, so it would sound nasty.
It sounds really nasty when you fire it, yeah.
And the housing had an electric motor in it to spin this blower, which is just the belt. So when it's spinning, For the electric motor, it still looks real.
Definitely.
The other interesting thing about this, the butterflies are hooked up to the throttle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when you're hitting the gas pedal,
It is opening and closing.
It's opening and closing, so it looks like it's legit.
Yeah.
And then when you take the hood off, what it's actually mounted on is two beams that go across and flip up, so you can get to the carburetor and deal with the normal stuff with the motor.
Okay.
Flip it down, secure it, put the hood over it, and it looks as real as it's going to get. You know, you can see there's no hold down blower. It just looks like, you know, the real thing.
Yeah.
Which is great, because you go up to a light, somebody looks at this, you know, they're going to expect 1,000 horsepower. It doesn't have that.
Right.
But if it sounds like it and it looks like it, then you've done your job.
Plus, I've seen you do burnouts and stuff, and it has no problem shredding tires.
Yeah, this does a good burnout.
Yeah.
So, and we'll do one.
And you were telling me you put some pretty massive brakes up front here, because this when you first got it wasn't.
Yeah, part of the argument that you always have with something that you get from Hollywood is how original do you keep it?
Yeah.
Because some people are super crazy about every little detail of it being how it was used on screen.
Yeah.
But when you have the practicality of driving it once in a while or using it, sometimes you have to make compromises.
Yeah.
Like my General Lee that you did a show on before,
Yep.
that I sold,
Yeah.
that had no working lights. None. And I was at a car show one night, it got dark, I forgot, and it was blackout.
Shit.
And I drove it there. This is in Phoenix, so I drove home blacked out, you know, and I'm like, I guess I better fix the lights.
Yeah, yeah.
So little things like that, to me, I feel is just fine to fix.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
So in this
and
case,
this car needed more brake.
yeah, it had tiny Willwoods on it that were just too small for the car. So, you know, you try to hold it to do a burnout and it just wants to creep forward because there was just no, you know, brake in the
Sure,
front. So for safety wise, you know, we replaced them with SSBC big disc, 13-inch in the front. So
Yeah.
now it really stops good. Yeah.
But then you're still running drums on the rear, because that's what it had in the movie.
Yeah, had it in the movie. No real need to change it, you know, for just safety's sake.
Now, does the cage go through to front and rear?
Yeah, this cage is actually legit.
I figured it would be with dead.
It's tied in.
Oh, it sure
you know,
is.
through the
Yeah.
frame rails and stuff.
Yeah.
Depending on how this was supposed to be used originally, you know, obviously in 5, 7, and 9 had different purposes, but in 4, they fully caged it. I don't know what they initially thought the purpose was. It was probably built as a stunt car to do some sort of jump or hit, so it would be real.
Yeah. What are the different switches here?
For the electric cutouts, which we added.
Which one's that?
Headlight switches right there that's lit.
That's your cutout. What's that one?
And that's one headlight, or 2 headlights, or all 4.
Okay.
And then the blower switch is the one below it.
This is your blower switch?
Yeah. And again, you know, it didn't have labels on it, so I didn't put a label on it now.
Yeah.
You know, you can make things simpler, but I just like to keep everything as original as possible.
And what's this one here, Bob?
That's for the line locks.
Oh, okay.
So this thing can do a nasty burnout.
That's really cool. You got a line lock on here. Anytime though with these, it's always interesting to me. I've driven, I don't know, a good handful of picture cars at this point, hero cars, you know, where you know Paul had driven that car, Vin had driven that car, or whomever it might be, you know, that I got to drive your General Lee, you know, and it's like, those guys sat in this car. Like, there's something special about that's, you know, you're driving a real true piece of history that lives forever on screen, but also right here in front of us, you know.
Yeah.
And I love that, this is my way of talking him into it, I love that you're always willing to do burnouts and donuts and stuff like that.
All right, well, let's go light it up.
Let's go do that. Done this a couple times before, Bob.
That'll look good going
I love it, dude. Chill, dude. You're so relaxed about it. All right, you guys, Bob did the throwdown shots for us. He said I can drive it here in the complex. We're not going to go out on the streets. It has a picture car license plate on it right now. But gotta be honest, man, just the second you sit here in this seat and you think Paul Walker sat in this seat in Fast 5, and Vin Diesel sat in this seat in 4, and I think again in 7. You know, so just the simple fact of anytime I get to do this, drive a car that's been driven by, you know, the big movie stars of the picture car world, it's just cool. It's just seriously cool. This is that car. I mean, this is really that car. Pretty funny considering that it really is not a monster motor. You know, we're talking about a little 360 in here. Pretty impressive, right? I mean, the sound of this thing, it's so damn loud. I can't believe this is what it is. And I've always wondered, what does it look like when you're driving a car? This is the first time I've ever driven a car that's got the big blower sticking out the hood. And it definitely messes with your visibility, man. There's a section of the road you would definitely not be able to see. I mean, you guys have heard me say this. If you've followed the channel for a bit, you've seen me get in some pretty iconic, famous cars. And each time I have the same experience, which is, I cannot believe that I get to do this. All right, you guys, that is it for our shoot of this iconic car. This Charger that we've seen in 3 Fast and Furious movies and yet a 4th coming out soon here. I didn't know this car was going to be in Fast 9, so that's amazing. I love that although this car has extreme value to it, he's willing to still drive it like it was meant to be driven, doing burnouts and, you know, having fun. So that's it for today, you guys. I hope you had fun with this one. Thanks for hanging and watching and supporting what we do. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you in the next episode. All right, guys. Later.